Hopefully, the story of Laugh Tale isn't about how Joy Boy stole Emu's girl. No, but on a serious note, this chapter really got me thinking about the dynamic and relationship between Miu-sama, the Ancient Kingdom, and Nefertari D. Lily. So let me explain. Vegapunk clearly communicates that the Ancient Kingdom were essentially the creators of the ancient weapons, and that the power source for them, outside of Poseidon, is the Mother Flame. This makes sense, right? But what doesn't make sense is how Miu got Uranus if Joy Boy intended for the ancient weapons to be passed down. We could assume that Joy Boy intended for the ancient weapons to be passed down to supporters of the Dawn, right? So we have Pluton in Wano, Poseidon with the Fishmen. However, Uranus resides with the world government. So that only can lead us to ask, how exactly did the world government get Uranus? If they had the opportunity to get all of the ancient weapons, why wouldn't they? This is where I believe Nefertari D. Lily comes into play. Of course, to most citizens, the story of the world government being founded is based on 20 families coming together to create the world government. However, we know that only 19 families came together to create the world government, and that the Nefertari family, which resides over Alabasta, did not. This implies, though, that at some point in time there was a favorable or non-antagonistic relationship between the Nefertari family and the 19 other families, but in specific, the Nerona family, which Miu hails from. My thoughts around this is that at some point in time there was definitely some betrayal, and I think the chapter title, Inner Conflict, represents this, as well as some other conflicts that we'll touch on later in this discussion. So after reading this chapter, I immediately thought about the conversation that Miu had with Cobra. So I went back and I read chapter 1085. In this chapter, Miu explicitly states that, first, the D is their ancient enemy, right? And so, at first, most of us probably thought that the Ancient Kingdom was that. But then, of course, we get the revelation that Lily has the name D. And we know that Lily didn't come from the Ancient Kingdom. And so, the D family, or the D moniker, I think is going to be the most important kind of reveal that we eventually stumble upon. However, I don't think it's going to come from here. We know that later in the conversation, Miu states that Lily made a mistake, and her mistake led to the scattering of the poneglyphs. Now, there's a popular theory out there that Lily got the pawpaw fruit and she was the one that did the actual scattering, which, while possible, I don't know how much weight that actually would add to the story, other than some tinfoil theories about Vivi getting the pawpaw fruit. But that would require Kuma to die. So I don't know how plausible or, if that'll actually play out. However, what I do think is important in that is that what it implies, right? So Miu implies that Lily intentionally took actions to scatter the poneglyphs. This is obviously corroborated by the letter that she sent that is passed down within the Nefertari family. However, how the scattering actually occurred is still up for debate. And what I want to do is try to tie some type of exchange, right? Whatever actions Lily took to scatter the poneglyphs, I believe, was the trade-off for the world government and Miu getting access to Uranus. And this trade-off is probably some type of, I don't know if I want to say betrayal, but this trade-off and these actions is what caused Lily to not be able to return home. I'm guessing there was some type of like weird stalling tactic or weird kind of diversion. I'm assuming that Lily and Mew were on good terms, and some deceit probably came into play on Lily's behalf, probably communicating and like, leading Mew to believe that she will help provide access to Uranus because Lily probably already had some good ties with Joy Boy in the Ancient Kingdom. I'm not exactly sure about how all this ties together, but I do think that her actions caused that trade-off and that exchange. How else would Mew get access to Uranus, but at the same time lose access to the poneglyphs? Because the way Mew communicates, it almost seems like the world government or the 20 families were in possession of the poneglyphs before they were scattered. So I'm super excited to learn more about that. I think that's actually probably what we'll find out more about in Elbaf. Relationships between some of the sovereign families. We'll probably get more details on that then. But those are my thoughts. Obviously, the picture frame that Mew's staring at, he's going through his own inner conflict, of course. And my guess is that he had to take some type of action against Lily because she, made the mistake of scattering the poneglyphs. But that's kind of my thoughts on that. Outside of that, the other focus, of course, is on the continuation of the Great Age of Pirates. To start, I want to talk about the inner conflict that I think the civilians are going to have. So if you think about what's going on now, of course, Vegapunk's warning, his broadcast is essentially a warning about how the world's going to flood. And who better positioned to navigate a sinking world than pirates, right? So it's really clever what Oda is doing. He's giving the civilians just enough information to know what's going to happen. However, they're still not sure about who's causing what, right? So the civilians think it's dangerous that pirates have the information of what's going to happen. But if you think about it, the pirates are actually the best positioned to navigate a sinking world because they live at sea. So don't be surprised if at some point in time in the story, pirates are the ones saving the civilians from the sinking world, whereas the world government, as we all know, are the ones that are actually sinking the world. So I think that's a nice play by Oda. He's very good at that. And then, of course, the Roger Pirates, we know they're the only crew to get to Laugh-Tale. At Laugh-Tale is probably, the remaining poneglyphs that tie everything together about the story of Joy Boy. Outside of that, I just want to do a couple quick hits. So I'm assuming that next chapter will be the very last kind of warning broadcast information that we get from Vegapunk. Now that we know that Iron Giant is protecting the transponder snail, 3 of the Gorosei are going to go after that. So that's going to be Saturn, Mars, and Ethan. We're definitely going to see how strong Ethan is as a swordsman. I think chapter 1114, one of the giants said that he could cut anything. So obviously Ethan is most likely going to be the one to cut the Iron Giant in half. Maybe get an assist from Saturn with poisoning it first to kind of corrode some of the metal, and then he'll cut it. Who knows? But I could see him doing most of the damage, and then Marcus Mars is going to use his Hyper Beam attack and probably destroy the insides of that. That's kind of how I see that going. But yeah, we're definitely going to see how impressive the technology from the Ancient Kingdom was. Obviously we know it's super impressive, but this is either going to be a super good feat for the Gorosei in terms of how they take it out, or it's going to be a super good feat for the Ancient Kingdom in terms of that technology. The next quick hit I want to kind of touch on is looping back to the whole Lily thing. So I think the Gorosei have come up way too short in terms of stopping the message, and so their two saving graces are cutting the broadcast short, I'm really under the assumption that Big News Morgans and Vivi are headed towards Egghead. I just think about it. Morgans is probably threatened, in terms of information delivery due to this broadcast. And his job is kind of to send out news, and usually the news that he sends out has some type of, cover page, and he's going to need some photos. So unless he's there or people he knows is there to get those photos, how is he going to spread the message? But en route to there, or when they get there, it's just, they don't know that the Gorosei are at the island. So I just feel like they're heading there. The Gorosei are going to be able to capture Lily some way, somehow, bring Lily back to Maryjois, but obviously that'll be somehow communicated back to the Straw Hats, whether it's they see it happening or Big News Morgans kind of releases some type of article or something that actually tells the truth, or communicates directly to the Straw Hats. We'll see, but yeah, that's my thoughts on this chapter. I think this one was a little bit underwhelming compared to last chapter. In terms of like actual information from the broadcast, we really haven't gotten too much. We've just gotten, it's been more for the civilians. Like, us as readers haven't gotten too much, but I think from a story perspective, it definitely drives the final conflict of the story together. But yeah, that's all I got for this chapter, and until next time, Taicho out.